You can walk into a familiar room and forget, for half a second, that someone is gone. Why can an empty chair still feel as if it is waiting for them? The coat is still hanging where they left it. Their cup is in the cupboard. You hear a floorboard move, or your phone lights up, and some part of you reacts before memory catches up. Then the loss arrives again. This is what makes grief so difficult to explain. The person is gone, but your life still expects them. Your habits expect them. The future you imagined still has a place set for them. We are often told that healing means this feeling should fade. You should accept what happened, find closure, and return to normal. But what if normal disappeared with the person? And what if feeling better creates its own kind of guilt? Because grief is not only pain, it is also love with nowhere familiar to go. That does not mean pain must last forever to prove the love was real. It means healing may ask something harder than forgetting. Tonight, we are going to ask whether grief ever truly heals, and what healing could mean when the bond itself still feels alive. Philosophy cannot give you a timetable. It cannot turn loss into a lesson or promise that every wound will close, but it can help us ask whether living again really means leaving someone behind. This stays with philosophy, not counseling or instructions for how you should grieve. There is no single correct pace. We are looking for a way to understand change without treating your love as a problem to solve. If you enjoy thinking through questions like this with me, subscribing helps more people find the channel. Sharing this also helps. Let's begin. Grief often catches you in the middle of something ordinary. You turn to share a strange headline. You start to comment on the weather. You hear the kettle making that sound again, and the sentence is already leaving your mouth before you remember. Then it has nowhere to go. The same thing happens all around the house. Their chair is still there, so is the cup they always reached for, and the side of the sofa that still feels like theirs. At a certain time of day, your body expects a voice from the hallway, a message on your phone, some small interruption that used to mean the world was shared. When it does not come, the silence feels different. It has a shape. The room still seems arranged around a conversation that can no longer happen. Your habits remember what used to happen there, even when your mind knows perfectly well that it will not happen again. That is why grief is not only a mood inside your head. Sadness is part of it. So are pain, heaviness, exhaustion, and the dull shock of waking up to the same fact once more. But grief also turns up in rooms, routines, gestures, plans, and reflexes. It gets into the ordinary machinery of a day. You almost take down a second plate. You save a story for someone who is no longer there to hear it. A practical decision suddenly feels strange because the person who helped make those decisions is gone. The world has lost one of the answers you counted on without needing to think about it. This is the harder part to explain. You are not just carrying a painful feeling through the same old world. The world itself no longer responds in the same way. A door still opens, but not onto the same life. The room is unchanged, yet some of what it once made possible has disappeared. People often say that time will make grief fade. Sometimes time does soften an edge, sometimes it gives you more room to breathe. But grief is not sealed inside you like a feeling waiting to run out. It keeps meeting you through a life that was built with another person in it. Their absence still has consequences, not because they are physically present, and not because you have failed to accept what happened. Love had entered your habits. It shaped what rooms meant, where your thoughts went, and who you expected to be there when the day turned difficult or unexpectedly good. So the problem grows larger than sadness. If familiar places now feel altered, if your hand still reaches for a person who is gone, and if your plans still carry the outline of a shared future, then loss is also pressing on your sense of who you are. If the room has changed, what has been wounded in the self? Long before modern psychology gave us its language for grief, Augustine described something close to this. His account helps because he did not reduce loss to an easy lesson. In the Confessions, he wrote with unusual honesty about the death of a close friend from his youth. What shook him was not sorrow alone. The whole world around him became hard to live in. The streets, the house, the town, and the routines were still there. Nothing had vanished except his friend, yet every familiar place now felt strange, because the person who helped make it familiar was missing. The world had kept its outer shape, but not its old meaning. Augustine's friend had become part of the way he lived, looked, remembered, and expected. Once that friend was gone, the absence did not stay in one corner of his mind. It reached into everything. You may know this feeling. Another person does not simply stand beside your life like a chair or a photograph. Over time, they enter its structure. They become part of where you look, what you expect, how you move through a day, what certain words mean, and what certain places carry. Then loss changes more than your thoughts. The evening hour feels different. A joke has nowhere to land. A plan no longer has a second person inside it. The street is still the same street, but it does not lead into the same future. Your world remains, while the paths through it have changed. Imagine holding a map that has not been damaged. The roads are clear, the landmarks are all in place. Nothing on the page says that anything terrible happened. But the route no longer brings you home, because home was never only a location. It was also a relationship. It was someone through whom the place became yours. There is nothing supernatural in that claim. Augustine was not saying that the dead remain in the room as a hidden force. His point was more familiar. Love organizes the way we notice and expect. Attachment helps shape the self. We learn who we are through the people we live with, speak to, wait for, hope with, and return to. This is why grief can feel like damage to the self. It is not proof that you are weak, dramatic, or refusing to move forward. The self that grieves was partly formed through a relationship with a person who is gone. When that relationship changes through death, part of your way of being changes with it. What kind of grief changes a world instead of only changing a mood? Contemporary philosophers Matthew Ratcliffe and Luna Fernandez Velasco have tried to describe this more precisely. They present grief as something that stretches through time and disturbs the world we live in, not only the feelings we carry inside it. That distinction changes how we understand daily life. If grief were only a mood, the answer would sound simple. Wait for it to pass. Let enough days gather behind you. Expect the sadness to loosen its grip. But deep loss does not usually move in such a straight line, because the calendar can advance while the old paths through life remain closed. Bills still arrive. Messages still need answers. You take the same route to work. The future continues to ask things of you. Then fear rises, and the one voice you would call is unavailable. Good news comes, and the first person who should hear it cannot be reached. Your hand moves toward an old habit before thought catches up. Philosophers use the word affordance for this part of experience. It sounds technical, but the idea is simple. An affordance is something the world offers you. A cup offers a way to hold it. A doorway offers passage. A trusted person offers response, comfort, correction, shared memory, a future, or the feeling of home. That person was never just one object among the objects in your life. Their presence helped life open in certain directions. When they die, you lose more than someone you loved. You also lose possibilities that existed through them. Certain conversations, decisions, jokes, birthdays, plans, and ways of imagining tomorrow. The road may still appear on the map, but when you arrive, it is closed. Your memory knows the route. Your body begins to turn before you remember. The line is still printed as clearly as ever, yet you cannot travel it in the old way. This is why time does not simply fill an empty space. It may soften some edges. It may give your nervous system room to breathe. But at a deeper level, time is part of learning how to live in a changed world. Ordinary life has to find meaning again without one of the people who helped hold that meaning in place. And if grief is larger than a feeling, what could healing possibly mean? You may spend weeks wishing the weight would ease. You want one morning when absence is not your first thought. You want to sleep through the night, eat because you are hungry, or answer a message without feeling as though you are dragging your whole life behind you. Then a lighter moment finally comes, and it creates a new problem. You laugh. It is not the polite sound you make because other people are trying to help. It is real. Someone says something ridiculous, and for a few seconds the afternoon feels easy. Your body remembers that it can enjoy being alive. The laugh escapes before you have time to question it. Then your thoughts turn against the relief. How could you laugh? How could you enjoy dinner or sleep so well? The pain has not disappeared, its hold simply loosened for a moment. But instead of peace, you feel suspicious of yourself. Less pain can begin to feel like less loyalty. This can happen in small moments. You finish a meal and realize you enjoyed it. You make plans for next week. You catch yourself singing in the car. The relief may last only a minute, but guilt can make that minute feel like evidence against your love. We often treat this guilt as a mistake that reassurance should fix. We say it is okay to feel better, and there is kindness in saying that. But reassurance can miss what gives the guilt its force. The feeling is not random. It comes from the way pain has become connected to love. Pain can feel like a witness. The ache says the relationship was real. The heaviness says this person could not be replaced. Tears seem to guard the value of what was lost. If the ache eases, even briefly, you may fear that the evidence of your love is fading with it. Think of a candle kept burning through the night. Its light holds the room in attention. It says that something important happened here and cannot be treated casually. Once devotion becomes tied to keeping that flame bright, any change in the flame can feel like a failure of the vigil. This is why the word healing can make you uneasy. Before any philosophy or theory explains it, the word carries a fear. Does life continue only if love loosens? And if love is what grief is protecting, why can relief itself feel like a kind of disloyalty? Part of the trouble comes from the model we use. We often talk about grief as though it were a cut on the body. Something hurts you. The wound bleeds, closes, and leaves healthy skin behind. Suffering has a clear direction. Damage first, repair next, closure at the end. That model can be comforting. It promises time is taking you somewhere. But grief does not behave like a cut. A cut heals by separating the body from the injury. Grief stays connected to someone you still love. That person remains in your memory, your habits, your identity, and your sense of who you are becoming. The pain is not simply a sign of damage. It is also connected to a bond that still has a place in your life. So when someone tells you that you need to heal, you may hear more than they intended. You may hear, stop carrying this, move on, become finished with them, return to the person you were before. Some part of you knows that cannot describe what you need. Modern grief psychology does not support one required path for everyone. Major clinical and psychological overviews reject the idea that every person must climb a single ladder from denial to anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Those famous stages offered a simple map, but real grief rarely follows it in order. You can laugh and then collapse. You can function in public and fall apart at home. You can accept one part of the loss and resist another. Peace may come in the morning, followed by guilt that night. Movement happens forward, backward, and sideways. That movement can be confusing because it does not look like the progress we are used to measuring. At work, progress means finishing more. In training, it means lifting more or running farther. Grief gives you no such clean score. A difficult Tuesday does not erase a calmer Monday, and a good afternoon does not cancel the loss. Stages are not always useless. The danger begins when they turn into a moral schedule. Then you can feel late, as if grief were a task everyone else expects you to finish on time. Public conversation often wants grief to become manageable. That is one reason people reach so quickly for closure. Closure gives everyone a result to hope for and a way to measure progress. In that model, healing means the wound shuts, so anyone who still hurts appears unfinished. But a closed scar is not the same as a life becoming livable again. A scar can mark survival without explaining the love behind it. It can show that time passed without proving that the meaning of the loss has been settled. Once the wound comparison stops working, healing becomes harder to define, but more exact. It no longer has to mean automatic closure. It can describe a changing relationship with love and memory. If the wound metaphor fails, what meanings of healing are left? The confusion comes partly from using one word for several different hopes. Some of those hopes can live together, others pull in opposite directions. For one person, healing means steadiness. You get out of bed, eat something, answer the message, and move through the day without grief deciding every action. This does not require forgetting. It means the weight no longer causes a complete collapse. For another person, healing means loosening attachment. You begin to see how suffering grows when you demand that life return what cannot be kept. Healing, in this sense, becomes practice in release. For someone else, healing means the work of mourning. You face what was lost, feel its reality, and slowly rebuild a world where the person is no longer physically present. This is not an escape from grief. It is a way of going through grief honestly. Healing can also mean a changed bond. The person who died is not erased from your inner life. You carry them differently. Ordinary contact has ended, but the relationship may continue to shape your choices, memories, identity, and love. And healing can mean building a livable identity. You become able to say, "This happened to me, and it changed me. But I am not only this tragedy." You do not return to an untouched old self or invent a replacement overnight. You learn to hold the loss without letting it occupy every part of who you are. One word is trying to open several doors. Steadiness is one door, release is another, the work of mourning is another, continuing love is another, a new way of being yourself is another. They carry the same label, but they do not lead to the same room. This is why two people can use the word healing and mean almost opposite things. One may be asking when the pain will stop. Another may be asking how love can remain. A friend may mean getting through the day, while you hear a demand to leave the past behind. The disagreement can hide inside the word itself. That difference becomes urgent when you reject one kind of healing while needing another. You may refuse healing if it means betrayal, becoming untouched, or pretending the loss was a temporary injury. Yet you may still need enough steadiness to sleep, choose, work, love, and keep living without treating your survival as disloyal. So we cannot leave the question as a simple choice between healing and not healing. We have to ask which kind of healing could honor love, and which kind would deny what the relationship meant. Could grief be bound to love more deeply than we want to admit? You do not grieve every person in the same way. The sharpest pain gathers around the voice you expected to hear, the message you still want to send, and the chair that suddenly carries too much weight. Ordinary details hurt because they were roots through which love moved every day. You notice it when something good happens and you reach for your phone. You notice it in the supermarket when you almost buy what they liked, or when you prepare a story for them. The habit begins before memory stops it. Love still moves, but the old reply is gone. This points to a difficult idea. Grief may not be something that attacks love from the outside. It may be one of love's wounded forms, what love becomes when the person it reaches for is no longer available in the world. Long before modern writers tried to explain this, Augustine lived through it. In the Confessions, he describes the death of a close friend and the sense that his soul had been torn because it had joined another. His pain revealed the attachment that death had injured. That is why grief can feel like a witness. It says this person could not be replaced. This bond was not a passing mood. While emails arrive and errands continue, grief protests against the idea that nothing serious has happened. But Augustine also gives us a limit. In the City of God, he does not treat every movement of sorrow as automatically wise. Human love can cling, possess, collapse, or turn inward. A living person can become consumed by the injury instead of continuing to love the person who died. Calling grief wounded love does not make every form of grief sacred. More grief does not mean purer love. We have to hold on to that distinction. Once pain becomes proof of love, any relief can look like proof that love is fading. You may fear that sleeping better, laughing again, or wanting a future means the bond is thinning. But grief is not a scoreboard for devotion. Pain can reveal love without measuring it. Think of grief as love that can no longer arrive in the old way. You still turn toward the person, but the world no longer gives you the same way to reach them. The movement remains while its destination has changed. Love now has to carry meaning under the injury of death. That helps explain grief, but it also brings us to a harder problem. Everyone we love is mortal, and somewhere in us we know it. If grief is love under injury, what does mortality do to love itself? It exposes a hidden demand. Most of the time, love does not feel fragile. You call someone and expect an answer. You sit down for dinner and assume there will be another conversation tomorrow. There will be time to repair the awkward moment, explain what you meant, or make a better plan. The bond becomes part of the furniture of your life. Death reveals what was true all along, that ordinary bond lived inside time, it depended on bodies, breath, memory, health, chance, roads, cells, and mornings that keep arriving until one morning does not. We rarely carry that knowledge at full volume. If we did, every goodbye could become unbearable. So we make coffee and say we will talk later. Love needs that confidence. Loss shocks us because it breaks into a future we had already begun to use. Augustine confronts this in The City of God. He worries about what happens when we ask mortal things to carry ultimate weight. We need human love. Yet when we silently ask a finite bond to be unbreakable, we place an eternal demand on something that belongs to a mortal world. This is not a command to care less. Augustine is not telling you to become harder, safer, or less attached. He is asking you to notice the promise you may secretly expect love to keep when you cannot bear the thought of losing someone. We want the person to remain. We want the shared routines, the private language, the familiar face, and the ordinary nearness to remain. Because the love is real, we begin to feel that reality itself should protect it. But the world never made that promise. Grief hurts because affection runs deep. It can also hurt because affection had begun to lean on permanence. We placed the full weight of forever on something finite, then discovered the strain only when it gave way. This is why easy talk about acceptance can sound false. Someone may say that everything is mortal and we must let go. The fact is true, but it does not meet the wound. Mortality is not a clean idea when it reaches the person you loved. It is the condition that made the loss possible from the start. Augustine's challenge leaves us with a difficult choice. If love suffers because it wanted permanence, what do we do with that desire? Do we prove love by refusing to stop hurting? Must pain remain endless because the bond felt beyond measure? This is where grief can become confused. The ache feels faithful. The wound seems to confirm the love. But if mortal love cannot demand permanence from the world, endless pain cannot be its final proof. Can love stay real without demanding endless pain as proof? That question can turn grief into a private trial. Nobody else knew the full relationship. They did not hear every joke, share each habit, or know the exact sound of that voice. Pain can begin to feel like the only witness you can bring forward. Other people may return to normal while you still feel changed. Their attention moves elsewhere. Yours keeps returning to what happened. In that gap, suffering can begin to feel like a duty only you are left to perform, as though easing it would leave the relationship undefended. If it still hurts, you may think the relationship must have counted. If you still break down, you must still be loyal. If the ache stays sharp, then perhaps you have not betrayed the person. There is a reason this feels convincing. We do not grieve what meant nothing to us. We do not ache over a presence that left no mark. The pain says that someone entered your life deeply enough for their absence to have weight. But pain says too little if it is the only witness allowed to speak. It can say the relationship was important. It cannot tell the whole story of kindness, attention, patience, laughter, forgiveness, shared time, or how being loved changed you. If pain becomes the only proof, love is reduced to suffering. The person becomes known mainly through the damage of losing them. Then, without meaning to, you may start protecting the wound more carefully than the life it came from. This is where grief needs steadiness, not denial. That does not mean rushing into optimism, obeying an order to move on, or pretending pain should disappear. Pain may be one witness. It cannot be the whole court. Love leaves other witnesses. Memory can speak, including memories that do not turn the person into someone perfect. Truth can speak when you describe them as they really were. Tenderness can speak when care you received from them begins to move through you toward someone else. Your choices can speak when they carry the mark of having known that person. None of this cancels the ache. It gives the ache company. It shows that loyalty is not measured only by how much you suffer. Sometimes loyalty appears in what you refuse to let suffering erase. Then relief does not have to mean betrayal. You can breathe without pretending the loss was small. You can say that the pain was real while remembering that love was larger than pain. And once we see that, we have to face the next question. When does grief stop honoring love and start collapsing the self? Grief can arrive before you have time to prepare. You see the empty chair. You almost say their name. A memory catches you while you are buying groceries or answering an email. Your body reacts before any calm idea can organize the moment. It hurts because love had weight. The question is not whether that first pain should appear. The question is what happens after it appears. Does sorrow enter one part of the day, or does it begin asking for the whole room, the whole future, and your whole sense of self? Seneca faced that question in Letter 63, written after the death of a friend. He does not pretend that grief should never sting. The common idea that Stoicism means feeling nothing gets him wrong. Stoicism is not a frozen face or a test of how unreachable you can become. Seneca allows the sting. What he resists is surrender. He resists the moment grief becomes a private government, telling you when to sleep, what you may enjoy, and whether laughter counts as betrayal. Sorrow begins demanding that every part of your remaining life kneel before what death has taken. You can feel that rule spreading through small decisions. You stop returning a friend's call. You turn down every meal. You no longer enter the room where people laugh. None of these acts seems large on its own, yet together they can hand more and more of your life to the loss. Here we need a clear distinction. Grief can honor the dead. It can keep memory close and make you less careless with the people still here. But grief can also create a second wound. The first blow comes from death. The second comes from living, as if death now has authority over everything that remains. That second blow is not love. It may feel like love because it is intense, but intensity is not fidelity. Pain does not prove that you are remembering well. Sorrow can be sincere and still become destructive. It can begin as devotion and slowly turn into a force that ruins your life. Seneca asks us to judge grief by another standard. Pain will come, and it may return. The test is whether it consumes all remaining life. Can you still offer friendship, duty, attention, gratitude, and care? Or has your inner life been placed under the rule of death alone? This is difficult because collapse can feel righteous. You may think that standing up means leaving the person behind. If you become steady enough to live, perhaps you are making the loss smaller. Seneca pushes against that fear. The dead are not honored by the ruin of the living. Love does not require another casualty. What does the Stoic refusal of collapse actually ask of a mourner? It asks for something more precise than coldness. Let sorrow enter the room without giving it the throne. That is the Stoic measure. It is not the fantasy that you never cry, or the brittle performance of speaking calmly because other people are watching. Seneca does not tell Marcia to erase memory. Marcus does not pretend that a person can lose someone they love and feel nothing. The Stoic question is simple to hear and hard to answer. You may not be able to stop the wave from coming, but after it comes, must it become the sea you live in forever? There is room for tears. There is room for the anniversary that catches you before breakfast, and the object that suddenly becomes unbearable. It might be the coat still hanging by the door, the cup in the cupboard, or the name on an old message. Grief returns sharply because love was real. Stoic measure does not call that weakness. It does ask you to notice when sorrow changes its role. A visitor becomes a ruler, pain becomes an identity, memory becomes a command. The person who died turns into a silent authority over every future joy, friendship and duty. This is where Stoicism becomes both useful and difficult. It is useful because it protects the living self. Your life is not over because another life ended. People still need your attention. Work remains. Some mournings do not belong entirely to loss. Continuing to meet them is not betrayal. It is survival with dignity. Yet this language can sound thin when you are grieving. Measure may sound like a clean word for feeling less, loving less, moving on, or making your pain acceptable to everyone else. That is the risk. Measured grief can become a polite social performance when it forgets the depth of the loss. A better image is not putting out the fire. It is keeping the fire in the hearth instead of letting it take the house. The flame still gives heat and marks the center of the room. You do not pretend it is harmless. You also do not let it burn the walls, the bed, the doors, and the future. At its best, Stoic steadiness is not denial. It offers an alternative to collapse. Love can remain without becoming total ruin. Sorrow can visit without ruling. You can carry the dead without surrendering all of the living. And still, one painful question remains. Can duty to the living survive without betraying the dead? The conflict can appear in a choice as small as accepting an invitation. One part of you knows that a friend is reaching out. Another part says that going would make the evening too normal. The duty is real, but so is the fear that ordinary pleasure will erase something you are trying to protect. After a loss, ordinary life can feel insulting. An invitation arrives and you refuse it. Food is on the table and you do not eat. Your body asks for sleep, water, movement and sunlight. You treat those needs as if they belonged to someone shallow, someone who has forgotten too quickly. Then your own ruin can begin to look like proof of love. If you stay broken, the person must have counted. If you stop caring for yourself, you have not betrayed them. If you abandon the day's small duties, you are showing that the world had no right to continue as before. Ruin starts to look like fidelity. Collapse starts to look like loyalty. Seneca will not leave that idea unchallenged. In letter 63, he does not say sorrow is false, tears are weak, or the dead should be replaced by a clean lesson. His claim is harder. The living person still belongs to life. You still have a body in your care. Friends remain. There are promises, work, and ordinary obligations. Other people could be harmed by your disappearance, even when that disappearance happens slowly and quietly. This is not the cold voice telling you to be productive, return to normal, or stop making others uncomfortable. It is a claim about competing responsibilities. Grief is real, but it is not the only thing with a claim on you. Think of a house after a fire. Something precious has burned. A room is gone, and the air still smells of smoke. Now imagine leaving the rest of the house untended to prove the fire was serious. Rain comes through the roof, doors stay open. The remaining rooms begin to rot because repair feels like an insult to what was lost. At first, that neglect can feel devoted. Over time, it becomes another destruction. Sorrow can be true. Tears and silence can be true. But ruin is not automatically noble, and neglect is not always love. Sometimes pain refuses every other responsibility, because responsibility feels like betrayal. Seneca widens the problem. Grief is not only about loyalty to the dead, it is also about the moral claims of the life that survived, the life still in your hands, the body still asking for care, and the people still waiting for some form of your presence. That leads to an even harsher Stoic question. If love feels betrayed by your continued life, what did love think it owned in the first place? We can hear the problem in words we use every day: my friend, my wife, my husband, my father, my mother, my person. Usually, there is nothing ugly in the word my. It can mean, this is the voice I know, the person I call first, the absence that changes the room before anyone explains why. Love needs a way to name closeness. When you say my father, you are not claiming legal ownership of him. When you say my friend, you are not saying you control their body, choices, or future. You are saying there is history here, a bond here, and a place in your life that nobody else fills in quite the same way. So possessive language is not childish or morally crude. The problem is more difficult. Affection often speaks with a confidence that reality cannot guarantee. Hidden inside my person may be a promise we never examine. They will be there tomorrow. The relationship will keep moving forward because the feeling is real. We do not say this aloud. If challenged, we know the answer. Nobody is guaranteed to us. Life is fragile. Death does not ask permission. Then loss comes, and we discover what the ordinary word my had been carrying. You notice it in the plans that still use the word we, the holiday you expected to take, the repair you meant to finish together, the conversation you postponed because there would surely be a better time. Loss does not only remove a person from today, it exposes how confidently you had placed them inside tomorrow. Grief hurts because love is wounded. It can also hurt because some part of us lived as though time were owed. The next conversation, holiday, apology, or quiet evening felt as if it had already been placed in our account. We did not think we owned the person. We may have thought we owned the continuation. This is where Epictetus enters. He is not trying to shame you for saying mine or make love colder. He challenges the hidden belief that mine means mine to keep. The Stoic warning is not that you should stop loving. It is that love becomes confused when it forgets the conditions under which every human bond exists. A person can shape your life so fully that losing them feels like losing part of your name. They can be central to your story, but they were never property and never a possession secured against time. If the beloved was never ours to keep, what kind of bond were we living? Epictetus gives an answer that can sound cruel when heard too quickly. In the Enchiridion, he says that when you kiss your child, brother, or friend, you should remember that this person is mortal. If they die, do not say they have been lost, say they have been returned. The sentence lands hard because it is not a soft comfort. Epictetus is challenging the fantasy inside possession. What dies was never ours in an absolute sense. That does not make the person worthless or the love imaginary. It means no mortal life came with a permanent contract. Of course we resist. When someone has lived beside you long enough, the language feels natural. My wife, my husband, my father, my child, my friend, my person. These words are how love names closeness, not cold ownership. Stoicism presses on what may sit beneath those words. Did we turn closeness into a guarantee? Did we treat a finite bond as if the world had promised never to call it back? Think of a borrowed house. At first you remember that it is borrowed. You notice the key and take care with the walls. Years pass. Your books fill the shelves. Your feet know the hallway in the dark. You argue in the kitchen and recover in the bedroom. It becomes the place where your life happens. Then one day the key is called back. The shock is not only that you have to leave, the shock is discovering that you had begun to believe leaving was impossible. The years in the house were still real. The meals, arguments, sleep and recovery do not become false because the key was borrowed. Yet the end exposes a limit that comfort had allowed you to forget. The home shaped you, but it was never protected from time simply because your life had taken root there. Grief can reveal this. It does not reveal pain alone. It shows how much of love was leaning on a kind of control the world never offered. Marcus Aurelius returns to this idea. Love what is given, but remember its nature. A body changes, a voice can fall silent, a presence can leave the room. From inside grief, that truth can feel unbearable. What you lose is a living center of meaning, not an object. We should not soften the Stoic claim until it says nothing. Its value is that it may free love from possession by telling us clearly what love could never own. Does this Stoic truth about borrowing thin love or clarify it? Our resistance deserves a full hearing. Loving someone does not feel like borrowing a cup or enjoying a temporary rental. You build a life with another person's needs inside it. Their fear changes your choices. Their future enters your future. You make promises, rearrange time, and accept obligations that no stranger could demand. This can be seen in the least dramatic parts of a relationship. You remember the appointment. You change your route to pick them up. You listen to the same worry again. You save money for a shared plan. Love enters the calendar, the budget, the kitchen, and the choices nobody else sees. Those obligations are not illusions. If a child is hungry, doctrine does not replace bread. You give food. If a partner is afraid, a lesson about impermanence does not excuse distance. You stay present. If a friend is falling apart, serious teaching does not become permission to vanish. You answer the phone and open the door. Their life makes a claim on yours. This is why Stoicism can sound too thin even when its warning is true. No person belongs to us as property. Death can remove anyone without asking permission from our plans, and grief may become more violent when love secretly imagines ownership. But human attachment is more than ownership. It is also promise and duty. Another person's pain can become your responsibility, not because you control them, but because love has joined your lives. So the useful question is not whether you should stop saying my. It is whether the word can hold closeness without becoming a guarantee. Can you love someone as part of your life while remembering that their life is not under your command? Can devotion become more attentive because time is not owed, rather than less committed because time is limited? We cannot settle that tension with a clean slogan. Repeating the Stoic sentence calmly does not make the objection disappear. Love is not possession, but neither is it casual appreciation. It is not owning a cup, and it is more than enjoying what passes through your hand. A real love binds. It forms habits, futures, loyalties, memories, and debts of care. It makes you answerable. This is why the wound cannot be explained by ownership alone. Stoicism clarifies one necessary point. The person you love is not yours to keep. The objection clarifies another. The person you love may still be yours to serve, protect, remember, and be changed by. Love is unowned and still binding. That is the difficult middle. Not possession, not detachment. A relationship can claim you without becoming property. The next tradition approaches the same wound from another direction. Buddhism will not begin by asking what we own. It will ask what happens when the heart names something dear. What happens when suffering is tied not to loss alone, but to what is dear? You can know that everyone dies and still expect one particular person to answer the phone. You can accept that life is uncertain and still postpone the conversation, assuming there will be another chance. We understand mortality in general. Grief begins when mortality stops being general and enters a name we love. This is where one Buddhist teaching becomes difficult to hear. The early discourses say suffering includes pain, aging, sickness, and death. It also includes separation from what is loved, pleasing, and dear. The word often translated as suffering is dukkha. Here it means the unsatisfying pressure of a life that cannot be secured. At first, the teaching can sound cruel. It may seem to say that caring was the mistake. If you loved less, you would hurt less. If you held nobody close, nobody could be taken from you. But that reading is too cold and too small. The claim is not that love is bad. It is that finite love has a structure. When you love someone who can change, age, leave, vanish, or die, vulnerability does not arrive later through bad luck. It is already inside the bond. The opening that lets love in is also an opening through which sorrow can enter. Death may be the event, the door slamming shut. But the pain draws its force from what was dear before that door closed. You do not suffer this way over what meant nothing. You suffer because someone had entered your days, your plans, your private language, and your sense of who you could be. Sorrow is the shadow cast by loving what cannot stay. That does not make love foolish. A shadow does not mean the object should disappear. It means the object stands in real light. Grief shows that a bond had enough warmth and weight to expose you. It reached into your future, so its absence now reaches into the same places. Buddhism is not asking you to treat the person as disposable. It is asking you to see why the loss cuts so far into life. The pain is not random punishment. It grows when a heart tries to build permanence around something living, changing, and breakable. This is painful to see, but it gives the grief a shape. If sorrow belongs partly to the structure of what is dear, then the work is not simply to hate death, time, or yourself for being unprepared. You also have to look at the bond and notice what you are still trying to hold, as if it could never pass away. If the dear already carries sorrow, what exactly are we clinging to? Often, we cling to the future we quietly assumed was owed. Not a grand future, another dinner, another message, another chance to apologize, another year of hearing the same voice from the next room. We know everybody ages and every meeting can end, but affection keeps living as though tomorrow already signed the contract. Buddhist practice tries to make this tension visible before loss arrives. A contemplation found in AN 5.57 asks us to remember repeatedly that we are subject to separation from all that is dear and appealing to us. The aim is not numbness, and not rehearsing disaster until the heart becomes dry. The point is to see the conditions of love while the bond is still warm in your hands, rather than seeing them only after the break. Tenderness is not a mistake, yet tenderness does not make anyone exempt from change. That difference can live inside an ordinary goodbye. You still expect to meet again, but you do not treat the moment as worthless because it cannot be secured. The conversation, the meal, and the walk home remain real. Their value does not depend on your power to keep repeating them forever. Knowing mortality as an idea is different from loving while aware of it. You may believe life is uncertain and still act as if your mother will always answer. You may accept death in theory and still leave the apology for later. You may understand impermanence while building your inner world around someone remaining reachable and familiar. Then grief exposes the bargain. Part of you had hoped that this person, this face, and this shared world might somehow be exempt. The wound is not only that they are gone, it is also the discovery that some of your love had been living beyond what reality promised. Impermanence was never a late interruption from outside the bond. It was there from the beginning, hidden by routine, the cup on the table, the name on the screen, the familiar footsteps, and the future silently assumed. Contemplative awareness does not make you prepared in any simple sense. It does not mean wisdom removes pain or that you should be less wounded. That would turn philosophy into cruelty. Seeing impermanence does not cancel love. It changes what love is allowed to pretend. And that brings us to a harder question. Can love loosen its grip without becoming cold? Many people hear the Buddhist word attachment and fear it means caring less. Pull back, become distant, train the heart until nothing can touch it. Inside fresh grief that can feel offensive, you do not want peace if the price is becoming someone who would not ache for the person you lost. But the Buddhist challenge is not a choice between love and indifference. It asks us to separate warmth from clinging, compassion from possession, and care from the desperate demand that says, this must stay, this must not change, this must remain mine in the form I recognize. Without that distinction, Buddhism becomes a caricature of numbness. We imagine a wise person freezing the heart to escape pain. The serious question is harder. Can the hand open without becoming cold? Can love remain warm while releasing its demand that life obey? From inside mourning, even that can feel unbearable. Grief is not an argument you inspect from across the room. It is your body reaching for someone before memory catches up. It is waking and feeling that the world has made a mistake. It is the private refusal that says, not this person, not yet, not this way. So when someone says to loosen attachment, you may hear an order to loosen the person. Let them count less. Stop wanting what every part of you still wants. That resistance deserves respect because the language can miss the life inside the bond. Love is often mixed. Tenderness can be joined with fear. Care can be joined with dependence. Gratitude can carry a wish for more time. You love the person, and you also love the future you expected with them. You love their presence, and you love who you were in that presence. You may also cling because losing them feels like losing the shape of your own life. This does not make the love false. It makes the love human. The distinction also keeps us from turning every ache into a personal failure. Sorrow may arise because the bond was dear, while extra suffering may grow around the demand that the old future return exactly as it was. Those experiences can be joined in the same hour without being the same thing. Now the problem is clearer. You already care, so the goal cannot be to stop caring. The question is how to separate care from grip without denying that the grip exists. How do you honor the warmth without making your whole existence depend on one form of its return? This distinction can change how you understand the grief. Pain does not prove that you loved incorrectly, nor does awareness of impermanence make the loss easy. It simply asks whether love can keep its warmth without demanding a guarantee that no life can give. But some bonds do not yield easily to that language. Some loves feel as if opening the hand would tear the hand apart. Why do some bonds resist every language of letting go? Grief often gathers around things that look worthless to everyone else. A sweater at the back of a drawer, a mug nobody uses, a notebook with familiar handwriting, an old message thread you keep opening even though you know no new reply will appear. You know the sweater is only cloth, the mug is ceramic, and the notebook is paper. The messages are words stored on a screen. You are not confused about what these objects are made of, and you do not need to believe they have magical powers. The problem is what throwing them away can seem to say. Deleting a thread may feel like a second loss. Clearing a shelf can feel like making a declaration, even when nobody sees you do it. You may pick up the sweater, decide this is the day, and then put it back. The movement can look irrational from outside. From inside, it feels like a decision about the relationship itself. The object is small, but the sentence attached to letting it go can feel enormous. Sometimes the object becomes the last place where address still feels possible. Not contact, return, or a hidden door into the past, just address. It gives your attention somewhere to turn, a point in the room where the relationship has not been treated as nothing. This is why easy advice about detachment often fails. Someone else sees clutter. You experience fidelity. They ask why you still need the object. You are left wondering what need means when an object helps you remain faithful to a bond. The sweater solves no problem. The mug brings nobody back. The notebook may never be opened. Yet keeping it can feel like refusing the world's impatience, refusing to translate the relationship into past tense before you are ready. Throwing it away may feel like saying something you do not believe, because the person is absent. The relationship has no present claim on me. The object makes that conflict visible. It places the question of attachment in your hand. When we keep the object, what relation are we trying to keep alive? Grief is not only a feeling inside you. It can also be a relationship you are still trying to honor. The person is gone, and ordinary exchange has ended. You cannot call, help, apologize in the old way, ask what they meant, or hear their reply. Yet something in you still feels answerable. The dead do not always become simple facts in the past. They may remain people to whom truth, memory, and witness feel owed. You may want to remember the person as they really were, rather than turn them into a perfect statue. You may keep speaking inwardly without expecting an answer, because complete silence feels like betrayal. This is why the phrase "move on" can sound insulting. Part of you hears, "Stop answering, close the file, place the life in storage, and treat the love as completed paperwork." But administrative closure and emotional or moral closure are not the same thing. The paperwork can end while the relationship still carries weight. It may feel like a correspondence left unanswered. The final letter has been sent. The address no longer works. No envelope will return. Still, you form sentences in your mind. You explain, remember, and notice details that seem to ask something from you. This is not confusion about death. It is the continuing force of a bond. The object can become a place for that unfinished speech. You do not expect the mug to answer or the photograph to change. Still, looking toward it may hold a pause that ordinary conversation no longer provides. The act is less about the thing itself than about where your attention is allowed to go. Then a dangerous idea can enter. Duty to the dead begins to feel as if it requires maximum suffering forever. Less agony looks like less loyalty. Peace looks like abandonment. Keeping the wound at its sharpest edge starts to seem like the only proof of love. But obligation and feeling are different. Pain can accompany fidelity without becoming the whole of it. Memory can be faithful without turning into endless punishment. Honesty can remain without constant collapse. Witness can continue without making your entire life a shrine to the worst moment. This does not mean every attachment should be cut. It also does not mean every ongoing attachment is sacred. Clinging can narrow your world until nothing living is allowed to enter. Remembrance can become fear speaking in the language of love. What are you protecting? Is it the person, the truth, the bond, or a promise? Or has pain become the only witness you trust? If pain is a witness, does less pain mean less love? No. Less pain does not have to mean less love. That answer becomes believable only when we stop asking pain to do a job it cannot carry alone. Pain does witness importance. A serious absence is not neutral. It changes the room, the mourning, and the way an ordinary object can suddenly become unbearable. A coat on a chair, a cup in the cupboard, or a birthday approaching on the calendar can carry the force of what is gone. Pain tells the truth that something real has been lost. But pain is a poor witness when it is the only one allowed to speak. Imagine one exhausted voice being asked to carry the whole case. Every fact, memory, proof of love, and sign that this life counted rests on that voice. At first it sounds necessary, even loyal. Over time it begins to break under the load. The case is not weak. One witness was never meant to carry all of it. Grief becomes cruel when it says that feeling better means forgetting. A laugh becomes betrayal. Sleep, work, or wanting something again becomes evidence that your love has faded. This is the trap. Suffering turns into the only acceptable evidence of fidelity. Love has other witnesses. Memory can speak. Not only the sharp memory that knocks you down, but the quieter one that lets you say the person's name with care. Truthful speech can speak when you tell the story without polishing it into a myth or reducing it to the worst day. Ritual can speak too. The meal prepared the same way, the visit, the candle. A small act can say that the relationship still has a place without claiming that ordinary contact continues. Responsibility can speak. So can tenderness you inherited without noticing. Perhaps you answer someone more gently because that person once gave you gentleness. Perhaps your priorities changed because their life and death showed you what could not be postponed forever. A carried practice can witness love. A changed life can witness love. A promise kept can witness love. None of this makes grief easy or brings relief on command. It opens a path between two failures. One is detachment, where you pretend the bond counts for nothing. The other is collapse, where pain becomes the entire shape of devotion. The kept object can sit somewhere between those extremes. It may hold memory without carrying the whole relationship. Its presence can acknowledge the bond. Its absence, if that day comes, does not have to erase the bond. The meaning was never located in cloth, paper, ceramic, or a screen alone. That is why two people may make opposite choices without either choice settling the love. One keeps the coat, another gives it away. One saves the messages, another cannot bear to read them. The object can support memory, but it cannot give a final measurement of loyalty. Fidelity can remain without endless rawness. Love can stay present without forcing the wound to remain at the same volume forever. Once pain is no longer the only witness in the room, another question becomes possible. If not by clinging or collapse, how does grief actually move through time? You may think you have already faced the loss. You survived the phone call, stood in the room, answered the messages, and handled the strange administrative tasks that feel far too small for something so final. Then weeks later, you are washing a cup, and the absence arrives again. And this time, it does not arrive as news. It arrives as a habit. This is where they would have stood. This is the question they would have asked from the doorway. An ordinary minute was still expecting them, even though you knew they were gone. We often expect grief to behave like a decision. We imagine an inner switch, attached one day, released after enough tears, time, or courage. When the same ache returns, or one object undoes an afternoon, you may wonder whether you are failing. There is a better way to understand that repetition. Your inner life does not learn a loss in one announcement. It has to meet the absence in every place where the person had become part of your life. Freud described this in Mourning and Melancholia. Kept within limits, his account is useful. He called mourning a kind of work, slow, prolonged work. Your inner life does not simply announce that someone is gone and become free. It has to reckon with what the loss means across many parts of life. The bond was never one thing. It was a mourning habit, a voice at the end of the day, and the person you imagined telling good news. It was an argument you replayed, a chair, a route home, a private phrase, and the version of yourself that existed when they were near. Mourning, therefore, involves more than changing a feeling. It involves reworking a relationship. The person had entered expectation, memory, identity, comfort, conflict, and the future. Reality has to be accepted in each of those places, not because you deny the death, but because the bond reached so widely through ordinary life. This is why grief circles. You understand the loss in one setting, and then meet it somewhere else, at the table, in a song, during a holiday, or inside a choice you used to make together. One part of life adjusts, while another still expects the old world. The return can be especially confusing on a day that had been going well. You finished your work, spoke to a friend, and felt almost steady. Then a familiar smell or one line in a song changes the afternoon. The earlier steadiness was not false. This reminder simply reached another part of the bond. Freud can sound as if healthy mourning must end in total detachment, as though success means nothing remains. That reading is too flat. The useful point is narrower. Mourning takes time because the relationship has to be revised after the world changes. The bond changes form. It does not have to become meaningless. So grief arriving in installments does not necessarily mean you are going backward. Another attachment point may have come into view. Another part of daily life is being asked to learn the truth of the absence. Repetition is not always refusal. Sometimes it is the shape of the work. Why does mourning circle instead of finishing? Because the loss is not met in one place. It comes to the holiday table where everyone notices the empty chair without looking at it for long. It comes through a bank form that turns a life into names, numbers, passwords, and signatures. It comes when your hand reaches for the phone before memory catches up. It enters the future too. A plan you once imagined has no second person inside it. A birthday, street, song, recipe, or joke suddenly touches a part of the relationship that had not yet met the loss. This can feel like a return to the beginning. Often, a new part of the loss has arrived. One death can touch many layers because one person can live in many layers of your life. They are present in routines, calendars, decisions, private language, muscle memory, assumptions about next year, and the person you become around them. Your inner life discovers their absence in pieces because life itself arrives in pieces. Imagine a stone dropped into water. The stone falls once, but the circles continue outward. One reaches the near bank quickly, another reaches the reeds later, another touches a place you did not realize belonged to the same water. The event happens once, its points of contact do not. Grief can work in the same way. The loss is one, but its arrivals are many. They spread across time because the relationship was spread across time. Recurrence does not automatically mean failure or retreat. Sometimes the next circle has simply reached the next shore. This helps correct a false idea of progress. We often imagine healing as a straight line leading away from pain. Mourning may move more like recognition. Again and again, another area of life learns what has changed. If repetition is not failure, what work is grief still doing? It may be doing the work of revision. Revision does not mean changing the past. You cannot edit the fact, bargain the event into something softer, or make the person return. The world has already absorbed the break. Your life cannot absorb it all at once, because a life is not one room. It is many rooms, and grief meets them over time. Some rooms are practical. Who handles the bill now? Who knows the password? Other rooms are private. Who are you without the person who remembered that earlier version of you? Mourning crosses both. It meets paperwork in the morning and identity at night, which is why one loss can keep arriving in different forms. This is why the same memory can return under a different light. First it may carry shock, later anger, later tenderness, and later guilt about something ordinary you said or failed to notice. The memory appears unchanged from outside, but each return touches another part of you. That is not automatically illness, weakness, or proof that you refuse to move on. Ordinary repetition does not need to be called pathology at once. It also does not need to become a self-help method, as if the correct technique could make love stop circling. The boundary here must remain clear. Some grief can become dangerous. Some grief can involve serious clinical risk, especially if a person may harm themselves, cannot function, or feels trapped beyond their own safety. That deserves real help. It is not the frame here. We are considering the ordinary and still devastating way mourning returns, because the relationship keeps being discovered in new places. Freud's idea of mourning as work helps explain this. Your inner life must loosen old expectations from a world where the person was available. That loosening happens through reminders, routines, objects, anniversaries, habits, and private reflexes, rather than one clean act. You reach for your phone before remembering there is no message to send. You hear a joke and know who would have laughed. You pass a shop window, and for half a second your body expects the old world. Then the changed world returns. Seen this way, recurrence does not erase every sign of movement. A hard anniversary does not cancel the quieter months before it. One sudden breakdown does not prove that nothing changed. The labor of mourning can continue while parts of life become livable, because revision and living do not wait for each other to finish. The wound is not new each time, but the angle can be new. Grief circles because life presents another strand to revise under loss: friendship, future, identity, the quiet evening, or the version of you that existed in relation to that person. Allowing grief to recur without calling it failure changes how we see memory. Memory can bring someone close while reminding you that they remain unreachable. What happens when memory starts consoling and wounding at once? You hear one familiar phrase in your head, and for a second the person feels close. You know the rhythm of their voice, where the pause would fall and the expression that would follow. Then the memory turns. The phrase cannot continue. You cannot answer it and receive a reply. We expect memory to help. If the person is gone, at least we can remember the joke they repeated, the way they entered a room, or one ordinary sentence that seemed to hold their whole presence. We quietly ask memory to save something from the loss. Sometimes it does. A remembered voice can steady you and interrupt the panic of absence. It can confirm that the relationship was real and that love was not erased when the body disappeared. Memory keeps a form of relation alive inside you. That is not fantasy or denial. It is evidence. Yet the same memory can wound. For 1 second, it brings the person near. In the next second, it proves they cannot be reached in the old way. The moment confirms the bond and its broken path at the same time. This happens suddenly. You are making coffee and remember how they took theirs. You pass a place where they waited for you. The detail is comforting because it feels alive, then painful because no new moment can be added to it. Memory gives and takes in one movement. C.S. Lewis described this instability from inside grief. In a grief observed, memory does not offer simple comfort. It reaches toward the person, and finds a presence joined to absence, a trace that consoles and then makes the present feel insufficient. It is like hearing a voice through a closed door. The voice suggests nearness. The door stops you from reaching it. Grief lives inside that contradiction. Memory is neither purely healing nor purely harmful. Love remains while its ordinary route is broken. If memory wounds, it has not necessarily failed. If it comforts, grief has not been solved. It carries the person forward while also carrying the impossibility of touching or answering them. The refuge contains the loss. The remembered phrase can feel like a hand on your shoulder and a reminder that the hand is gone. This leaves us with a harder question. Can thought clarify grief without consoling it away? We often turn to philosophy, hoping the right sentence will loosen the knot. We want a book, an idea, or a voice from another century to make the pain less confusing and less heavy during the ordinary hours of a day. Sometimes philosophy helps, but not always by offering comfort. It may show what happened, why the ache returns, and what was lost without providing an escape. The idea of inconsolation points to this limit. Thought can clarify grief while consolation remains unavailable. Clearer thinking can remove false comfort. It can challenge the promise that time will simply fix everything. It can show why saying the dead live on in memory does not make memory a replacement for presence. Love does not become harmless because the person is gone. When those easy answers fall away, you may feel more exposed rather than lighter. That does not make the thinking cruel. It means the explanation refused to lie. There is still a practical value in that refusal. You no longer have to blame yourself when a cherished memory hurts, or force every recollection to become a comforting tribute. The same memory can carry gratitude, anger, warmth, and distance. Its mixed effect follows the mixed reality of a bond that remains meaningful but cannot continue as before. Some kindness moves too quickly. It tells you to focus on gratitude, keep the memories close, and believe the person remains with you in every meaningful way. Some of those words may help. Grief can also recognize when comfort is trying to cover the wound before it has seen it. Philosophy does not always cover the wound. Sometimes it turns on the light. A light in an empty room does not remove the emptiness. It shows the chair nobody occupies, the cup in the cupboard, and the space where a voice once arrived. The room is clearer, not less empty. Clarity and relief are different. Philosophy, therefore, does not become useless when it fails to soothe. It can help you stop bargaining with false versions of reality. You may still carry a heavy burden, but you no longer have to carry an explanation that keeps collapsing under the facts. This changes grief from a feeling to manage into a question about meaning. If thought cannot restore the old world, what kind of world remains after the loss? What if grief changes not only your feelings but the meaning of the world itself? That claim may sound too large. We usually speak of grief as an emotion, sadness, emptiness, missing someone. All of that is true. Yet, after a serious loss, the world can keep functioning while no longer feeling trustworthy in the same way. The lights turn on, the kettle boils, messages arrive, and traffic moves outside. You can answer emails, buy groceries, make appointments, and say the expected words at the right moments. Something in the background has still shifted. The future may lose weight. Plans that once pulled you forward can feel thin. A birthday on the calendar, a trip you imagined, a room you meant to repaint, or a habit you assumed would continue. The plans remain, but they no longer seem held by the same world. Even choices that have nothing to do with the death can feel altered. You may struggle to care which route you take, what you cook, or whether you accept an invitation next month. The old future contained a witness, someone before whom these choices made sense. Without them, possibility itself can feel less solid. This is why grief can feel disorienting. You're not simply carrying pain through an unchanged life. Familiar routines become less anchored. The walk home follows the same streets but does not return you to the same place. A song plays from a different distance. The chair and cup remain while the confidence around them has changed. C.S. Lewis kept returning to this part of grief. He described more than sorrow. He wrote about a changed contact with reality, where ordinary things became harder to trust, read, and inhabit. Recent philosophers such as Matthew Ratcliffe and Laura Fernandez Velasco give this a more precise name. Grief can change our sense of worldhood. It can alter the felt structure of time, possibility, meaning, and belonging. Imagine a floor that still carries your weight, but no longer feels equally solid. You can cross the room, and nothing visible has broken. Still, each step carries a new doubt. Loss may not remove reality. It changes the confidence with which reality meets you. This explains why simple reassurance often misses the problem. A friend can tell you that life continues, and factually they are right. But the difficulty is not knowing whether tomorrow will arrive. It is finding a tomorrow that feels possible to enter without the person who helped give it meaning. Memory takes part in that struggle. It can return a voice, a face, or an old version of you. It can also show exactly how far the present stands from the remembered world. The comfort and the injury come from the same source. The relationship still has force. It can also preserve parts of your identity that were formed in that relationship. You remember how you spoke around them, what they expected from you, or which version of your courage they saw first. The memory keeps that self available, while making clear that the person who recognized it is no longer here. So consolation cannot mean feeling soothed alone. If the world has changed its register, comfort must also ask whether meaning can be lived again when the old trust is gone. And that leads to the next question. If memory cannot finish the bond, does the bond end at all? After someone dies, even saying their name can feel like a decision. Keep the photograph or put it away. Cook their meal on a birthday or let the date pass. Ask what they would have said, or stop looking backward. Ordinary choices begin carrying a question nobody can settle for you. For a long time, many grieving people were offered a narrow choice: move on by loosening the inner tie, or remain tied and be trapped in the past. The demand can sound practical and kind. It can also make you feel that love must be amputated before life is allowed to continue. Work on continuing bonds challenged that assumption. Researchers including Dennis Glass, Phyllis Silverman, Stephen Nickman, and later scholars such as Nigel Field helped change the question. Health does not always require severing ties with the dead. Sometimes the task is learning how the tie changes. This does not mean death is unreal or the person remains physically present in the ordinary sense. It means human bonds are made of more than physical presence. You already know this in daily life. A sentence they once said returns when you need it. Their standards make you pause before acting. Their humor changes how you hear a story. Their love remains part of how you understand yourself. You may notice their influence without trying to summon it. You reach for the recipe they taught you and hear yourself using one of their phrases. A difficult choice arrives, and their way of seeing the world becomes part of how you decide. Physical contact has ended, but influence has not. But continuing bonds should not become another easy slogan. Saying closure is fake can create a new demand: keep everything exactly as it was or betray the love. The older demand says cut the bond. The newer one can say preserve it unchanged. Neither allows the relationship to answer truthfully to death. The middle is harder. A bond may continue, but it cannot remain the same bridge it was before. Imagine a river changing course after a flood. The bridge is not destroyed, yet it cannot be left untouched. It must be narrowed, reinforced, or rerouted. You may still cross, but the crossing changes. That change can involve giving up old expectations while keeping a real connection. You stop waiting for the phone to ring, yet still ask what the person taught you. You accept that no new conversation will happen, while allowing old conversations to keep shaping what you notice and choose. Grief opens a space between erasure and impossible return. You do not have to pretend the person is physically here. You also do not have to treat love as a problem solved by disappearance. The question is what kind of bond can live truthfully after death. That question enters daily choices, whether you speak the name, keep the object, or wonder what they would have noticed. Their absence may remain a wound, while also becoming a changed relationship you learn to carry. What forms can an ongoing bond take without denying death? The forms can be very ordinary. It may be a private ritual, lighting a candle on one date, cooking the meal they made, or visiting the same place each year. You are not claiming that time reversed. You are giving memory somewhere to stand. It may be an inward conversation. You are not claiming that they answered from the room. Their voice has become part of your moral imagination. You can hear how they might question you, what they would laugh at, or what they wanted you to remember. It may be a promise kept after death. Take care of your sister. Finish the course. Stop wasting your health. Be kinder than before. The relationship continues through responsibility rather than fantasy. It may be a value you carry. Their patience becomes something you practice. Their courage becomes a standard. Their tenderness changes how you speak to a child, a partner, or the tired person behind a counter. In that form, grief becomes inheritance as well as pain. The bond can also change a decision. You refuse the job, make the apology, or leave an argument earlier. You choose differently because the relationship altered your sense of loyalty. Researchers such as Field, Pachman, and others describe continuing bonds in many forms. Later reviews show why the idea cannot be reduced to one slogan. An ongoing bond is not automatically mystical, sentimental, or healthy. Some bonds open a life. Others become heavy. One person carries a value and turns toward the world. Another carries guilt and remains trapped in the past. One ritual lets memory breathe. Another becomes a test that no living day can pass. The form changes the whole problem. Think of learning a new grammar for a language whose original speaker is gone. You know the words and still feel the rhythm, but you cannot speak it in the old way. Death changes the tense. Love moves from direct address into memory, action, conscience, tenderness, and choice. Grief may become more livable when the grammar of the relationship changes. The bond becomes practical and open to judgment. The question is no longer only whether you feel connected. You can also ask what that connection is doing to your life. When does a continuing bond help carry life, and when does it imprison it? It can do either. A continuing bond can steady you. It can keep love from becoming only a date on a stone, a box in a cupboard, or a photograph you fear touching. It can remind you who you became because another person was here. Memory may enter how you speak, forgive, raise a child, or refuse to become hard. But not every continuing bond gives life room. Sometimes the bond becomes a law. The person who died turns into a veto on every possible future. You stop joy before it arrives, refuse new love before it becomes real, or punish your appetite for life because moving again feels like leaving them behind. We still have to judge the bond by its effects. Sincerity does not make every attachment wise. A bond can be sincere and imprison you. A ritual can be tender and keep you frozen. A cherished memory can be used against the living self who still needs room. The distinction may show up in what happens after the ritual or memory. Do you return to the people around you with more patience, or withdraw from them because no living relationship can compare? Does the promise guide one choice, or become a rule that forbids every future you did not imagine together? Think of a hand on your shoulder. At one moment it steadies you and helps you stand when the room tilts. It reminds you what love taught you and who you were with that person. The same hand can hold you in place. It can stop you from turning toward the door and make each step feel disloyal. What once supported you may become the force that prevents another part of life from being lived. So the question is not simply whether the bond remains. The question is what shape it takes. Does it allow truth, memory, and life to coexist? Can you say that the person is gone, you love them, and you are still allowed to live? Can memory accompany your days without owning every day? Can the dead remain morally present without ruling every choice? Or has the bond become a way to refuse the facts, stop time, or make grief the only proof that love was real? If healing has a place here, it may not mean the relationship disappears. It may mean the relationship changes form again. Not vanished, not untouched, changed. Now the question moves inward. Grief concerns the person who died, but also the person who has to keep living after the world has been split. Who is the self that remains after loss? Grief can change the meaning of a simple plan. A holiday on the calendar, a room you meant to repaint, or the sentence we should do that one day suddenly has nobody inside it. You are not only missing a person, you are missing the future that made sense because they were there. You notice this when a date approaches and your first thought still includes them. You see an advertisement for a place you planned to visit, or begin saving a story for a dinner that will not happen. The future did not feel imaginary before, it felt shared. You may also miss who you were with them. The version of you who needed no explanation, who knew which joke would land, or who could send one message and be understood. The person is gone, but so is a particular way of being yourself. A parent who loses a child still has the same name, yet something in that name has been wounded. The checking, feeding, waiting, worrying, and planning that made parenthood practical have been broken off. A partner loses the person who gave tomorrow a shape. A friend loses the living second keeper of a shared memory. This is why grief can feel disorienting. It removes a person from the present, a role from your life, and a route from the future. It also removes a mirror in which one version of you became visible. Augustine described part of this after his friend's death. His grief was not sadness sitting beside the rest of life. He wrote of a self torn open because love had made another person part of how he experienced his own being. Contemporary philosophers of grief explain the point more directly. We are not sealed selves who happen to care about others. We become ourselves through shared practices, promises, routines, names, obligations, and imagined futures. Other people help organize the practical shape of who we are. So the question is not only how you endure the feeling, it is also, who are you now that this relationship cannot be lived in the same way? That question can sound like betrayal. If you change, are you leaving them behind? If you make a new plan, are you admitting the old future is gone? If you become someone different, have you failed the person who knew you before? Identity change after grief does not have to mean a dramatic reinvention. You do not need a speech about becoming brand new. The change is often quieter. Your memory, love, and history remain, while the path that once carried you forward no longer reaches the same place. Imagine a bridge with part of its far side removed. You still stand where you stood before. Much of the structure remains, but it cannot carry you into the expected future. Life has to find another route. Rerouting does not require you to deny where the bridge once led. The old direction stays in memory, and some days you may still turn toward it. Yet a livable future cannot depend on a crossing that physical reality no longer allows. It has to take shape beside the loss. That rerouting is not a cure or a clean replacement. It is the work of becoming a livable person after the future you expected has collapsed. Grief leaves you with a double truth. You remain the person who loved them. You are also becoming someone who must live without their physical presence. The self after loss is neither untouched nor erased. It is altered by absence, held by memory, and carried into a future it did not choose. Can a changed self stay faithful to the one who changed it? The question hurts because growth can feel suspicious. You laugh and wonder whether you betrayed them. You make a decision they will never see, and worry that moving forward means moving away. A new routine, friendship, or desire arrives, and the old love seems to stand at the door. The first correction is simple, though not easy. The self must change because the world changed. You cannot lose someone central and remain arranged exactly as before. Your days carry different weight, your future has different furniture, and your body knows different absences. Change after loss is not a moral failure. It is a response to reality. The mistake is treating change and erasure as the same thing. Continuing bonds do not have to claim that nothing changes. They do not require you to pretend the relationship is unchanged, or that memory replaces a living person. They allow the dead to remain part of a life that has become new. You can carry someone without freezing them, and be shaped without being imprisoned. This gives you a way to understand new plans without calling them disloyal. A future choice can differ from the one you imagined together and still carry the relationship's influence. The person does not have to approve every step from memory for their place in your life to remain real. You may carry them through a phrase, a meal, or a warning that stops you before an old mistake. You may keep a photograph, repeat a ritual, or tell a story at the right time. The relationship can continue through what you remember and preserve. It can also continue through what you refuse. A cruelty is no longer passed on. A silence is broken. An inherited fear is kept from becoming someone else's burden. Love may remain present in a choice the person will never see. Sometimes your life changes because of them. You become more patient because time has shown its fragility. You act with more courage because absence exposed what could not be postponed. Approval that once controlled you begins to seem less important. This is not leaving the person behind. It is carrying their influence into conscience, memory, and action. Think of a mark on the body. The mark changes how you walk. You may move carefully and notice the ground in a new way. You may never walk as if nothing happened. Still, the mark is not the whole body, and it does not have to become your entire name. Faithful change can look like that. It is not always easy or peaceful. Happiness may arrive with guilt. A new desire may feel insulting to the life you imagined together. Philosophy cannot simply remove that guilt, and it should not pretend it can. Love can remain tender because it still reaches into the present. But guilt is not always proof of betrayal. Sometimes it is the sound of an old bond meeting a new life. A changed self can remain faithful without staying identical or refusing every future. You carry the dead truthfully into the person you are becoming. Love is not honored by making the self unlivable. It is honored when its influence remains truthful inside a life that continues. If the self changes, why does culture still demand closure? At first, people make room for grief. They send messages, bring food, and tell you there is no rush. Then the weeks pass. The questions begin to change. Are you doing better? Are you ready to work normally again? Are you dating? Are you back to yourself? Nobody has to mean harm. Friends may feel helpless. A workplace wants normal performance. A family wants to know what happens next. But behind the questions sits a quiet request. Please let this grief become something the rest of us can understand and manage. This is one reason closure has so much cultural power. It often helps everyone around grief before it helps the grieving person. It gives pain a border and a finish. It promises that the past will stop interrupting the present, and that the unfinished parts will finally be put away. Open sorrow is hard to live near. It interrupts schedules, deadlines, plans, holidays, and the expectation that every difficult story should show progress. When someone keeps missing the dead month after month or year after year, other people can become uneasy. They begin listening for signs that the story is ending. The grieving person is then measured against a timetable that may have little to do with love. After the funeral, the first weeks, or the first anniversary, people expect movement they can recognize. They want pain to become manageable and the story to become easier to hold. You may notice the change in a conversation. Early on, someone asks about the person who died and waits for the answer. Months later, they quickly change the subject when the name appears. The silence tells you that grief is still welcome only if it arrives in a form that does not disturb the room. Closure has real emotional appeal for the person grieving too. It promises relief. If you're exhausted by loss, the idea that one day everything unfinished could finally settle may sound deeply kind. The problem is not the wish for relief. The problem is what the word can quietly demand. Sometimes closure means one small piece of clarity. A conversation happened. A question was answered. A ritual gave the loss a shape. Someone found words for an experience carried alone. This use of closure can describe something real and limited. The stronger version suggests a reset. The relationship is completed, filed away, and no longer has a living claim. Grief becomes convenient for the calendar, the workplace, and the people who want uncertainty handled. These two meanings are easy to confuse. You may want one answer, one ritual, or one settled fact, without wanting the relationship erased. Someone else may hear the word closure and assume you are ready to stop speaking the name. A limited resolution and a complete emotional ending are not the same event. A life can be treated like a file stamped closed because the office cannot keep it open, not because the story ended. The stamp may help the system and the room move forward. The bond may not obey it. Love does not finish because a calendar asks it to, and memory does not become orderly because other people are tired. The American Psychological Association is careful on this point. Grief does not follow one simple timetable, and people do not move through it in one identical sequence. Research on closure also warns against treating it as a guaranteed destination, especially when the word implies emotional completion. Relief becomes harmful when it turns into a demand placed on the person who experienced the loss. So closure is not only an inner wish, it can also be pressure from outside, culture asking sorrow to become legible, efficient, and less disruptive. What if closure is less a truth than a social wish for a clean ending? We then need another way to describe what can happen after loss. The opposite of closure is not always chaos or permanent collapse. Some lives become more livable, days may become less sharp, rooms that once felt impossible can be entered again. You may find a place for the photograph. You may answer a question without losing your breath. You may wake up feeling neither fine nor restored, but able. Grief changes, and denying that change would create another false story. But change is not reset. A life can regain shape while carrying absence. You may become steadier without becoming the person you were before. You can find rhythm without declaring the bond finished. The loss may stop breaking open every hour while still changing the way those hours feel. This is where continuing bonds offers another frame. Much contemporary thinking about grief does not ask only how we detach from the dead. It asks how a relationship changes when the other person is no longer physically present. The bond is no longer mutual in the ordinary way. The person cannot answer the phone, sit across from you, forgive, interrupt, argue, laugh, or touch your shoulder. Yet you may still feel answerable to them. You may ask what they would have wanted, measure a decision against the life you shared, or feel your character shaped by their absence. This is not always a refusal to move forward. Sometimes it is the form that moving forward takes. Steadiness may therefore be a better image than closure. Closure sounds like a door shutting. Steadiness sounds like a body learning to stand again. It does not deny the break, require amnesia, or promise that the old self returns untouched. A vessel can be set upright without pretending it was never cracked. Steadiness also leaves room for uneven days. You can handle a meeting on Monday and struggle with a birthday on Friday. You can enjoy dinner, then feel the absence on the drive home. The ability to stand does not mean every surface has stopped moving beneath you. The crack changes the vessel. It changes how light reaches it and what it can hold. If we use the word healed, it cannot mean untouched. It has to mean that life becomes livable while the truth of the loss remains inside it. Even steadiness must not become the next command. Some grief stays jagged for a long time. Some losses do not settle into wisdom. Some days remain hard and unfair. Philosophy should not rename pain as growth before the person living it has room to breathe. Nobody must become steady on schedule. But when steadiness comes, it does not have to mean betrayal. It does not prove that the dead were left behind or that love was removed. Grief's future may be livability without reset rather than closure. This distinction gives you room to recognize change without treating change as disloyalty. A quieter day does not cancel the bond. Returning to work does not settle the meaning of the death. Living again and remembering can remain part of the same life. So what meanings of healing survive once closure fails? The word healing can sound simple until you try to use it in a real life. Does it mean you sleep through the night? Stop reaching for the phone, give away the clothes, laugh without guilt, keep the photograph but no longer need it beside the bed? Each answer describes a different change. So the problem is no longer whether grief can be solved in one clean move. It cannot. We need to ask what kind of change each tradition expects from you, what that change protects, and what it asks you to release. One answer begins with the limit of control. You cannot command death backward or force the world to return what it took. You can, however, question the judgment that keeps demanding the impossible. This is the Stoic idea of self-command. In ordinary life, self-command may appear when sorrow arrives before work or in the middle of dinner. The pain is real, but it does not have to decide every action that follows. Stoicism protects dignity, agency, and inner steadiness. It helps you stand when life has become violent. The cost is serious. Stoicism asks you to give up the hope that love provides a special exemption from reality. Protest cannot become the only proof of devotion. That can preserve your life, but it may also cool a protest that feels inseparable from love. Another answer begins with the grip itself. You love someone, and alongside that love grows a demand. They must stay, the future must continue, and the bond must keep the form you know. Buddhism calls attention to this movement and asks whether care can remain after the grip loosens. This is not the same as throwing away a photograph or forcing yourself to care less. The distinction is between warmth and possession. Buddhism protects compassion, attention, and tenderness while challenging the fantasy of permanence. It teaches that pain can arise and pass without becoming the whole place where you live. What must be released is not love or memory. It is the demand that something precious remain unchanged to remain real. That promise can offer freedom, yet from inside grief it can sound threatening to the attachment itself. A third answer says the problem is not love, but the weight we ask love to carry. A fragile person becomes the final guarantee of meaning, safety, and home. Augustine describes healing as a reordering of love rather than detachment from it. This approach keeps the goodness of the person, the seriousness of attachment, and the moral force of grief. It does not dismiss the ache as failure. The relationship was important, so loss can disturb you. Yet Augustine asks you to release the idea that any finite person can become the final home of the soul. This requires metaphysical trust. It does not simply make the room more comfortable. It rearranges the room and changes where love is allowed to place its ultimate weight. Then there is the experience of meeting the same absence in many places. You know the person is gone, yet the chair, message, holiday, and reflex to call them each have to learn that fact. The loss enters life in installments. Freud calls this mourning labor. Healing means the slow psychic work of recognizing the absence again and again, not because you failed to understand the death, but because attachment lived in routines, expectations, identity, and the future. This view treats grief as work, not weakness, while protecting attachment. It explains why a calm week can be followed by a painful song or an ordinary errand that brings everything back. The return does not erase movement. Freud's account also carries a cost. The old investment in the lost person cannot continue unchanged. Something has to move, and energy has to return to life. Mourning labor protects psychological truth, but it can sound as if successful grief must end in release. The fifth answer refuses to treat movement as severance. The relationship may continue through memory, ritual, character, inward conversation, conscience, and daily choice. This is the approach known as continuing bonds. You may cook the meal they taught you, keep a promise, or hear their standard when making a difficult choice. The person is not physically present, and the old mutual exchange has ended. Still, the relationship can shape the way you live. Continuing bonds protects connection. It refuses the demand that love disappear before life resumes, but it also requires release. The bond cannot stay exactly as it was, or demand the impossible presence of the dead in their old form. Connection remains by changing. These ideas are not 5 labels for the same result. Each one saves something and costs something. Self-command saves agency, but may cool protest. Loosening saves freedom, but can alarm attachment. Reordered love saves meaning, but asks for metaphysical trust. Mourning labor saves psychological truth while seeming to move toward release. Continuing bonds saves relationship while requiring transformation. None of these positions is neutral common sense. Each carries a view of what a person is, what love is, what death takes, and what life after loss can become. Can rival traditions disagree and still leave us with usable truth? Yes, if we stop asking philosophy to act like a referee. We may want one verdict that ranks the answers and settles grief. Real life keeps resisting that wish. The person who needs steadiness at work may also need a ritual at home. A guiding bond may feel like a prison another day. The useful result is a map, not one winner. That map stops us accepting false cures too quickly. Just move on can turn agency into emotional amputation. Never let go can treat refusal to change as the only proof of love. Time heals can pretend that time alone knows what to do with a life broken open by loss. Philosophy gives us several routes. Some turn toward self-command, some toward freedom from clinging, some toward reordered love, some toward mourning work, and some toward continued relationship. The routes cross in places, then separate because they protect different parts of the human problem. This lets you ask a more practical question when the word healing appears. What is being protected here? Agency, freedom, meaning, psychological movement, or connection? What am I being asked to release? And would that release help the life that remains, or erase something the love still needs to carry? There is no universal cure hiding behind those questions. Some answers remain too shallow, some promises too quick, and some comforts cost too much. Among the serious options, a person still has to decide how love, loss, and continued life will stand together. So the best result may not be a winning definition. It may be a question clear enough to live with. What kind of life can carry love without pretending to cure it? You laugh at dinner, make a plan for next month, or wake after a full night's sleep. Then guilt arrives. Part of you asks whether feeling lighter means leaving the person behind. Pain has guarded the bond for so long that any relief can seem like a threat to love. This is the pressure hidden inside the word healing. You may want life to become possible again without wanting the relationship erased. You may want to enter the room, use the chair, or hear the song without treating your own survival as a betrayal. The narrowest answer is a changed relationship. Love remains. The dead still count. Their trace stays in the room. Yet the living person slowly becomes able to inhabit that room again. This answer does not promise a date. It does not say 6 months, 1 year, or 5 years will set you free. Grief does not follow one schedule, and wisdom does not require emotional order. A human life does not become true by becoming clean and complete. Still, a changed relationship is real change. At first, raw pain may feel like the only evidence that the bond was important. If the pain eases, perhaps the love is fading. If you enjoy an afternoon, the future may seem disloyal. Pain stands at the door and says that loosening its grip will allow love to disappear. That belief keeps relief and loyalty on opposite sides. It makes a meal, a friendship, or a new plan carry more moral weight than the choice can bear. You are no longer deciding only whether to go out. You are deciding whether a living evening can coexist with a person who died. A livable bond does not require pain to vanish. It means pain no longer has to serve as the only witness. Other things can witness love. The way you say the person's name can do it. So can a habit you keep, a kindness you learned, or a boundary you finally hold because they wanted you to live with more dignity. Missing them and continuing can happen in the same hour. You might hear their phrase when you are about to repeat an old mistake. You may cook their meal without turning the whole day into a memorial. You may tell a story that includes their flaws as well as their warmth. None of these actions replaces the person. They allow the relationship to influence life without pretending death did not happen. This is where continuing bonds helps when used carefully. The idea is not to stay trapped in the past or make suffering sacred. Love does not need to be erased before life moves. the relationship can change from something that burns the whole room into something you can carry like a lamp. The flame is smaller than the fire. It does not consume every hour or turn every decision into a memorial. Yet it remains warm and gives light. Because it can be carried, you can walk with it. One day the lamp may shape a practical choice. You call the family member you have avoided. You answer someone with the patience you once received. Another day it simply sits beside the sadness. The bond does not have to perform a lesson every time it appears. And this is not victory over grief. It is another kind of faithfulness. You do not have to choose between forgetting and being ruled by raw pain. You do not prove love by refusing life. A careful answer keeps three things together. Love remains, change is possible, and limits are respected. There may be no total cure or complete ending. The person will not return to physical life. Memory will not become the same as presence. Yet a life that still answers to the dead can become inhabitable again. This difference can show up in the smallest choices. You move the photograph without feeling that you moved the person. You enter the cafe you once shared and allow the memory to come. You accept an invitation, knowing that joy does not rewrite the death. Some choices will still hurt. You may put the photograph back, leave the cafe early, or decline the invitation. A changed relationship is not a performance of progress. It leaves room for days when the old force of the loss returns. So we come back to the room. The chair, silence and absence remain. But the room does not have to be only evidence that something was taken. It can also hold evidence that something was given. This does not make the loss worthwhile. It does not turn pain into a gift or ask gratitude to cover what happened. The change concerns the bond, not the moral value of the death. What was given belonged to the relationship that existed before the loss. Living there again is like learning the same house after its light has changed forever. The old light is not restored, and the windows are not smashed because it is gone. You learn the new shadows, move differently through the hall, and notice which corners still hurt. Slowly, you may also notice that the house can hold a life. A friend can sit at the table. Music can play in another room. The absence remains part of the house without becoming its only possible use. This answer stays modest. A carried bond does not prove that you mastered loss. It only shows that love found a form that does not require the whole life to stop beside the first wound. Some mornings will return the old ache. Some rooms will feel too full of absence. Those returns do not cancel quieter change. Grief can move in waves while you still learn to stand, choose, speak, and care. The bond becomes livable when it can travel with the living without demanding that every road lead backward. It can sit beside a new plan without accusing it. It can enter memory without turning memory into punishment. It can shape kindness, caution, gratitude, and tenderness without becoming a veto on the future. This is not perfect repair. It is a different relationship with what cannot be repaired. The practical test is not whether you feel connected every day. It is whether the connection leaves room for truth and for life. Can it acknowledge death, preserve love, and still allow another person, choice, or mourning to make a claim on you? That answer may change from day to day. A ritual can steady you in one season and feel heavy in another. A kept object can comfort you, then need a different place. The bond can change again without becoming false. How can the room mean something new without meaning less? Let us end in the same room. The chair is still there. So is the coat, the cup, the book, and the dent in the cushion. These objects once felt ordinary because they belonged to a life you did not need to explain. Now each one can carry an absence. At first, the room may feel cruel. It has kept its shape while your world changed. You may wonder what you are supposed to do with it. Leave everything untouched? Clear it away? Wait until the shock disappears before you move a single thing? There is no rule that can settle those choices for everyone. Moving the coat may feel possible one day and unbearable the next. Keeping it does not prove you are trapped. Moving it does not prove you have forgotten. The useful question is smaller. Can the room begin to mean something else without meaning less? If healing is the right word, it may not mean that love closes like a wound and disappears into the past. Love may change its form of address. It is no longer only the daily call, the footsteps in the hall, or the interruption from the next room. It may remain through memory, habit, loyalty, tenderness, ache, and sometimes guidance. This does not make the loss good. It does not claim that pain was secretly good for you. It simply recognizes that love does not become unreal when the life around it changes. Many of us still test love by pain. If the ache softens, we fear the bond has weakened. We treat maximum suffering as the strongest witness and keep ourselves near the first wound to prove that the person still counts. But witness does not require maximum pain. Breathing more easily for an hour is not betrayal. Neither is laughing, sleeping through the night, moving the coat, changing the room, or letting one small part of life become livable. The relationship was never proved by injury alone. Love can be carried with care as well as pain. No tradition we have considered gives one endpoint that every grieving person must reach. No ritual, doctrine, or philosopher can tell you exactly when the room should change, what must stay, or what your heart should release. There is no universal hour when grief becomes complete, and no final sentence that makes absence simple. What remains is a question you can carry into ordinary life. Can this love stay part of you without asking you to remain only in the moment of loss? Can the room hold absence without becoming a prison? Can meaning change without turning change into disloyalty? Perhaps the answer appears slowly. You sit in the chair again. You use the cup. You tell a story and notice that the memory hurt but did not take the whole evening. None of this closes the bond. It gives the bond another way to live beside the day. The room still remembers. It still carries the trace of the person who is gone, but it may no longer be only the place where life stopped. It can also become a place where your life continues with the love still inside it. Not less love, a changed meaning,